So now I want to give you an example of the power of deep listening. And also, within this example, you will begin to understand how to listen more effectively. So a son approaches his father about a problem. And pay attention to how the father responds and the consequences on his young son. So Brian comes to his dad and he says, "Dad, I'm not going to ride the bus to school anymore." "Father, what do you mean you're not riding the bus? How do you plan to get to school?" Brian, "I'll walk." "Father, you can't walk. It's too far. Besides, there aren't any sidewalks. It's not safe." Brian, "Well, then I'll ride my bike." "Brian, you're just not thinking. Do you know how many cars are out on the road at that time of morning? Riding your bike is even more dangerous than walking. I can't let you do that." Brian says, "I know lots of kids who ride their bikes. Their parents don't think it's unsafe." "Oh, I doubt if it's lots of kids. Besides, you should be happy for parents who love you and are really concerned about your safety." Brian says, "Dad, you're just not fair. It doesn't matter what I tell you I want. You're always saying no." "Father, I don't think so. I let you do a lot. Sometimes I think I can never satisfy you kids, no matter how hard I try." Brian, "Gee, I wish I'd never brought this up." And he withdraws, sullen. Father says, "Hey, look, I'll tell you what I'll do. Maybe once a week or so I can go into work a little bit later than usual. How about if I drive you to school those days? I know it's not every day, but it seems like a pretty good compromise to me." Well, so what do you think Brian's thinking and feeling after this interaction with his father? Were his father's responses helpful to Brian? Is Brian in the future more or less likely to open up to his father? And yet, what was the father's intent? No doubt he's a good man, and no doubt he loves his son deeply. But is he aware of all of the consequences of this approach with his son? So let's consider how this interaction might have gone if Brian's father had really listened with empathy. So Brian comes to him and he says, "Dad, I'm not going to ride the bus to school anymore." And his father says, "What's up, son? What's going on?" Brian, "I don't know, nothing much. I'm just tired of riding the bus every day, that's all." So father says, "You've been riding it a long time." Brian, "I have, years now, and almost every day. I think it's time for a change. I'd like to walk or ride my bike." Father, "So you're exploring other ways you could get to school?" Brian, "Yeah, sure would be nice if you could take me. Do you think you could?" "Well, unfortunately, son, I have to be to work about an hour before you even leave for school, so I'm not sure that's a very good option." Brian says, "I didn't think so. Maybe I'll have to walk." His father says, "Well, so walking is one choice." Brian, "I suppose, but it's really a long way, and I have to get up earlier, and besides, there aren't any sidewalks, so it's not very safe." So his father says, "So walking doesn't seem like a very good option." Brian, "No, and neither does my bicycle." Father, "Doesn't seem like you have any good choices here." Brian, "Nope." There's a long pause, and father's quiet during this pause. And you know, it's really not the bus. The bus is okay. Maybe the best way to get to school. I just don't like the other kids, that's all. Father, what's going on with other kids? Brian, "They're rude and noisy. I try to read or talk to someone, but kids are always interrupting me." Father, "Sounds pretty frustrating." Brian, "That's the truth. There's one guy, Blaine. He really gives me a bad time. He's a grade ahead of me in school, and he's really a jerk. I'm the guy on the bus he's decided to pick on. He bugs me all the time, punching me, pushing me around, calling me names. It's really embarrassing. I just dread going to the bus stop. It ruins my whole day." Father says, "It really hurts the way Brian's treating you. It affects everything." Brian says, "Yeah, it's ruining school for me this year. It's all I can think about." There's another pause. Dad's waiting to see if Brian picks up and shares more. And then Father says, "I think sharing this with me took some courage. You didn't know how I'd react." Brian, "Yeah, but I'm glad I did. I feel better knowing that you do." And Father opens his arms and Brian accepts a hug. And then Dad says, maybe we could talk about what you could do about it. And Brian says, I'd like that. So what's different this time around? What's the impact on Brian and on the father-son relationship? Notice how the father avoided the temptation to lecture or give his son advice or go for quick fixes. By deep listening, Brian's father communicated respect and empathy. Brian felt safe. He opened up and he talked about what was really going on. Now, I want to point out that the problem is still unresolved, but now the father and son are in a much better position to solve the problem. But in the meantime, the father has accomplished a lot of other benefits of good listening. He's building some trust and goodwill in his relationship with his son. He's validating his son's feelings, improving, even supporting him in his self-esteem and growing in self-worth. He's expanding his son's ability to think and to be responsible, self-responsible. The benefits of good listening are many. Good listening is important in all of our relationships, at home and on the job. And as we understand the principles and the skill of listening, we give ourselves an incredibly powerful gift to be able to influence others for good wherever we go.